I'll get there. Ooh. Welcome to Books We've Never Read.
Except for those we have.
Our
mic's not plugged in. Oh well, too late now. It'll just be a slightly quieter episode.
If y'all can't hear us, please let us know.
Yeah. How are you? Anyway,
continue on.
Welcome to Books We Never Read. I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And this is episode 72, where we will be discussing the third week of Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, which was incredible. So before we dive in, please make sure that this is the episode you really intend to be watching. We talk about the book as if you have also already read all of this book. Good morning, Sue J. Let us know if you can hear us okay. If you have not read the book yet, please stop the video, back up, finish the book, and then go through our other episodes that talk about the book as well. So anyways, we have tons of stuff playlisted for you if you're looking for other things to read. So go check out our playlist section. We're also a podcast on YouTube Music. We are also on Good Reads as a community on or at Books We Never Read. If you have any recommendations, please share those with us. And, chat in the chat and all that.
We've had a lot of new folks who join us for this book. We hope that they stick with us for the next book. We also hope that you invite your friends to come and read books with you. Even if they don't join us live, they can play along with the discussion, and y'all can have fun talking about books. Because our next book is a historical fiction, but it also seems to be a murder mystery. I didn't know that until yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and we'll post a syllabus for that book shortly after this episode.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. I think that was all the paperwork.
Housekeeping.
Paperwork.
Anyway, so what did you think about the book?
This was fantastic. I mean, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I've liked Brandon Sanderson for a long time, and I've read at least one whole trilogy, and the other series that I very much like, I don't think I've actually finished, but I mean, he's just a fantastic writer, and this was really good. I really enjoyed the sort of afterword in the book where he talks about like how he decided to write this and everything, and writing from Hoyd's point of view is kind of like an experiment for him. Mm-hmm. And he wants to write a book about Hoyd's backstory, which we see a little bit of in this one. And he says he probably won't use this method of writing, but it was just a really interesting way to do it. It was a very interesting world, and he kind of talks about the different iterations that he had before this and how they weren't interesting enough, and then we get to this point. And so just from like a sum total place before we get into like the specific things here in the last reading that I really liked. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. It was really good.
Yeah. The narration was fun. Even though it was like kind of offbeat and kind of silly, the writing was still really beautiful. There was lots of, really great sentences that just kind of like, catch your breath, and also the fact that like this was a little bit different. It had illustrations. As Peggy pointed out, the chapter, little chapter number illustrations changed depending on the spores and what was going on in the chapter.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. Okay, so Peggy and Shelby are with us, it seems. They had an interesting evening where they are, but good morning from an uncrashed bus, they say. So I'm glad y'all are safe.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my highlights and I don't know how to find them here.
So you don't hit that button. It's
different on the phone.
Yeah, it's this button. No, sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean that.
A little
sorry.
Finger. Get out of here.
Can we talk for a second? I don't know if oh man.
What?
I don't know if I think somebody named Josh has been joining us. Is it Josh? Is that right? I'm not sure if he's here today, but he guessed that the rat was Charlie, and he was right.
Me too.
Okay, but
Me too, Josh.
We should Give credit to the viewers. It's not about you.
It's not about me.
Yeah, but like, you know, we all
Okay.
kind of had this conversation for a second. Oh god.
I'm
We all had this
kidding.
conversation for a second about like, what if Charlie's the rat? And then I said, you know, I think it'd be cool, and I kind of dismissed it ultimately. But hey,
Yeah.
I think that was a great twist because even though you could see it coming a mile away, at some point it becomes obscured, and then it comes back around, and I
He was
thought that was
like-
really good.
You know, I was trying to say my name was Chuck, but all that would come out was Huck.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Yes.
And how, okay, so in all the like, really feel like it's him. Why didn't we realize, like, Charlie, Chuck,
It was well obscured.
Huck.
That would have been rather difficult. I think. If you had tried to pitch me that, I'd been like, no, I don't think so.
I mean, it was right in front of us.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And, you know, along with that storyline, this last section of the reading, what a roller coaster. You know, Huck had put Hoyd up to throwing out the food, and so we feel this betrayal from Huck, and we're frustrated with him, and then the redemption that comes with, well, once they did get there, but she didn't quite realize the whole thing. Like, well, he did try to stop me from coming, and you know, even though he's been here before, clearly, and then her putting it together.
You know, not only was this book like silly and a good time, but it also had good things to say. And I'm talking about Huck trying to like chucking all the food out the window and everything, and talking about saying I did this for your own good and how condescending that is. That came up several times in this last bit, and I really enjoyed that because like it's it comes from a good place.
Yeah. Who are you to make someone else's choices for them?
Yeah. If you're gonna do it, don't ever tell them.
Yeah. Right. Pretty much. Pretty much. You know, so last week we really talked about, we tracked how the book talked about like memories and stuff like that. This time we can really see this whole, who are you doing things for, and, doing things on behalf of other people or whatever. And there was a cool quote about heroes, and, like ask a hero why they did it. A hero, first of all, is trained, and they train to do this thing. But when it comes down to it, they're doing this thing for their friends.
Right.
It's not for an ideology, and it's not for country. It's for the person next to them.
And it says, don't give them something to fight for. Give them a someone.
Someone to fight for. Yeah. Yep.
I thought that was good. And, most acts of heroism in, like, the trenches or whatever are not done for your country because, like, honestly, you're not going to make that big a dent. But, like, you do it so that your buddies don't get blowed up or whatever, And,
right. And I mean, obviously, why you're there, why you're fighting, but, a distant, non-tangible, not enough to die for.
Yeah.
But the person next to you, it is. And then also kind of talking about memories, I really liked this part where Tress and Ulam were talking, and, she's trying to build her plan or whatever, and she's just talking about how this is just the most desperate that she's ever been, and Ulam's like, as desperate as you were when you were hanging off the side of the ship at the beginning. And so it says Tress hesitated, thinking back to those first awful days. Well, yes, she'd been desperate then too. She'd assumed herself to be as desperate as possible. Perhaps it was like lifting weights. Her capacity for desperation was increasing with time, and there just wasn't room for other emotions like embarrassment. But just, you have this thought, and you're like, this is just the worst it's ever been, or this is the most intense this feeling has ever been. But you stop, you think back, all your experiences have built you up to the point where you are. Your capacity kind of grows with you in a good way and a bad way.
Now, that's an important survival lie, I think. To think that the thing you are doing right now is the hardest thing you've ever done means that you are going to try your hardest, so you will definitely live, right? Because what if you were just like, that other thing, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. So, like, man, we can hang out for a minute, right? And then you die. So it's, I think it's an important self-deception. But, definitely, I think hanging off the boat in the face of imminent death, at least she had time to plan before going to the Midnight Sea, So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Golden Age.
Let's see. Actually, I'm looking at my notes, and I want to go back to something that was maybe in the first reading or the second reading, but just talking about like the language and the things they say, but it came up again is that all societies know what dragons are, and they all come up with the same word, even though dragons don't necessarily tell them I am a dragon. Like it's this thing that just comes out, and you're like, that's what that is, you know. And we have the same kind of idea with Dougs, right? No matter what planet you're on, no matter what world you're in, Dougs. Um, and one of the things I'd highlighted is once a society reaches peak Doug, it has to go sit in the corner and think about what it's done.
Yeah. Peak Doug.
and you know, bringing that back around, talking about the Dougs, we actually get the name for a Doug in this book. And while I think the concept of like they're all Dougs, they don't matter is funny, and it definitely served a point, I think that dipping back in and saying, you know, the Dougs are real people too, and they all have hopes and fears and religions and weird things about eating seagulls, and then kind of getting that Doug's backstory was a really nice touch because it's not just totally dismissive of the bulk of the people on the ship, even though it is. It was a well done way of handling it.
Yeah. And he even made the comment. Narrator Hoyt made the comment. That if he weren't so focused on telling the story, he could get sidetracked with a whole novel of Doug stories.
Yeah, sure.
So that was pretty cool. And Josh is here.
Yeah.
And Peggy made sure Josh knew.
Yes.
That he got credit. Gold star.
For Charlie. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's this book just handles so many like dichotomies so well, you know. You have to have stock characters. They have to be thrown in. But you do have to be careful about the fact that, like, in life, we see a lot of other people as stock characters in our story, but they are not to be dismissed.
Right.
You know, they are human beings with feelings.
For some reason, I'm going to get a gold star. Bang, here we go. I've sort of had this feeling about treating all the Dougs as Dougs in the same way that I was worried in Verity about treating somebody who is handicapped as like a psychopathic killer. You know what I mean? And obviously those two things are not the same. But
I don't know, it's just like how stereotyping or only having one story can lead to this generalization.
Right, yeah. And you know, if at the beginning of the book, Sanderson talks about how this person must be brave because he lost 10,000 soldiers, right? And we give that dude credit for something that like a bunch of other people died for. And the more I think about it, like the greasier that is. But those people were Dougs, right? Those 10,000 people that are dead are Dougs. And that's weird and callous, I think. And so it was a good exploration there.
Also, just to kind of expand on the, like, when a society has reached peak Doug, it's time for them to sit in a corner and think about what they've done. That's also a commentary on self, right? When so many people in your world have reached a phase of anonymity where you're not concerned about who they are anymore or the fact that they're people, when you can just filter through the humans in your life pretending they're not humans, it's time for you to sit in the corner and think about what you've done. You know, like, it's time for you to reassess your own thoughts about other people.
Well done. That's good. That's going to turn into a short. That's good.
And also... Just,
no, that's the point, and I missed it.
But internalizing that, I have days where my world's filled with Dougs, right? I'm not concerned about... I sound very selfish in this episode.
You know what's funny is the only neighbor who I really know is Doug.
We do have a Doug. He's great.
But like all the other neighbors are Dougs, right? Like, and we live our life that way, you know?
Yeah, but you know, and especially like in very populated areas, like when you take public transportation, you're on the city bus a lot or you're on the subway a lot, like all those people are Dougs to you, but you know, but they're not Dougs to themselves.
Yeah.
You're the Doug.
Yeah, you are someone else's Doug. Yeah. Interesting.
So is it okay that I'm just like kind of jumping around?
Do it. Eventually I'll throw a note.
Okay. I really loved when Tress got a hug, and it was exactly what she needed. Soleil gave Tress a hug. After, do you remember this part?
Just go ahead. I'm not sure.
This is after she met the dragon. She brought back the news about Soleil's father.
Yes.
And Soleil gave her a hug, and it was exactly what Tress needed right then. When emotions start leaking, it's best to give the body a good squeeze and force them right on out, like lancing a boil.
Yeah.
And when their emotions were thoroughly lanced for the moment, Soleil forced herself to stand up, and they went on along their business. Gotta give it a good squeeze.
Hugs are nice.
Yeah.
I'm not really a hugger, but sometimes you need
Sometimes you just need a good hug.
Yeah.
Oh, the book is so pretty. Yeah. I want a new edition with more cups. It says Golden Age.
I'm actually thinking that I might, at some point, I need to update the books that are behind us. And
this would be one worth having a physical copy of. Can you get them? Since this was like Kickstarter.
Yeah, we could probably get them.
Is it in production?
No, I don't think so, but we could probably get them. I would like to update the books behind me, but I feel dumb asking people to give me books that like I've already read. So.
We've got some used bookstores and stuff. I bet we could find some of the good stuff. One of our spiciest comments our channel has gotten is related to the books behind us.
They're just books, man.
And just how we're terrible people.
Don't look at my books.
Don't look at my books. They're here in the background, but don't you look. No.
So I have a note on a part, talking about at what point does the good of the crew outweigh the good of Charlie? And this is sort of like when they're pulling up to the Midnight Seal. At what point do you decide, maybe we all don't die for this one dude?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a good question that has no answer, that everybody has to decide for themselves. But I can think of several events going on in the world where people are dying over the, benefit of a couple people maybe, and, or maybe more, but more people are dying than would have died, or, like at what point do you make that decision? And that's tough. And the good news is that it seems that the crew of the ship is like, hey, we're going to go do this now, And like Fort wants to go and be the greatest hunter by getting rid of the sorcerers, which I think is kind of a cool way to tie in that random cultural fact of his, So.
Yeah. Well, and in their case, the shipmates here felt they needed to, first of all, they kind of felt like they had nothing to lose anyways. As they are, if they were to return home, they would be punished because they've killed at sea. Mm-hmm. And so this gave them a way to have a purpose to the rest of their journey, wherever it might end. Mm-hmm. Going home is not an option at this point.
Right.
So dying at sea is fine, and dying for something that they feel like they believe in is fine. And especially just how much they love Tress now.
Yeah.
And it just gave some purpose to their life. And like fairy tales do, it all ended up fine.
Right.
And they get,
the
king
pardons them.
There you go, that's the word. I was like, blesses, that's not the...
No. Yeah, definitely the king would have like sank their ship. That's what I think it like are his vibes. But he's using them, right? Like it's not unselfish. He gives them the charter to sail the Midnight Sea, and they're opening up new trade. Like he's benefiting from them.
Sure.
And that's fine. But he's not like a nice dude all of a sudden.
Oh no. Yeah. No. The part where Hoyd compared selling intellectual to selling your body made me shout, "Oh snap, got him!" Yeah, Josh. Yeah,
that part was really good. Yeah. We look down on people who sell their bodies, but not those who rent out their minds.
Yeah.
We just like ways of feeling superior to people, right? It
doesn't. We like to other.
It's others. Exactly, and otherness is something that is inherent to the human condition. I don't know that there is a whole lot we can do about it, right? The key is to make your other as much you as possible. Right.
And, well, to be aware of the fact that that's our natural inclination.
Yeah. But I mean, that one hit deep because we do that. We look down on people who do construction or adult work or whatever, right? But if you sit there and slave away in a cubicle all day, like somehow you're better, like why is that better?
Right.
And I'll go back to a point I've made in several other books before, but I don't see a difference between mind and body. And so if you are in a cubicle slaving away, are you not selling your body? Yes. The answer is yes. There's no difference there.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to skip to my favorite part.
Do it.
When the tower was a rocket ship. If you don't know this about me, I am the biggest sucker for my fantasy stories turning sci-fi at some point. I love it. And when they started describing the tower, I was like, oh, that's a rocket ship. And then they got in there and she has a laptop and like a control room and all kinds of cool stuff. And I was like, yes, I'm here for it. And then it blasted off and there's a picture of it. They drew a picture of it, of the tower blasting off on that little island. And I think it's awesome. And I'm not sure where I get this love from, but and I may have talked about this before. When I was a kid, I read this series called The Saga of Recluse. I think it was written by somebody named Modest. I'm not sure about that. And in that series, it's all fantasy, but the prequel to it is about this starship that crashes and how the planet has this energy field that's similar to sort of like the Wi-Fi basically of the starship. And I think that might be where it came from, but I just those are such fun twists, you know, and it explains the technology that's on the planet and different things like that. And I just love it.
I laughed so hard when they're looking at the little screen and they could see Fort, and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, like make me see Fort and make him see us.
And what did it say? It said,
hold on, crap. Oh shoot.
It said, this is something engaged, right? Like,
yeah, like
video conference.
Yeah, it's video conference.
Video conference engaged. That was so funny. Man. Give me your part. What you got?
That was really funny. Oh, sorry, I lost it. I keep hitting the wrong button. I'm having some Kindle struggles today. Peggy started tutoring. I could not. I just didn't have the capacity to tutor while being a teacher. Like, that's just too much. My brain couldn't handle it. Being told you're too expensive. People do not understand. So expensive. You do it
Shelby
yourself.
says, Fort Ann and Soleil remind me of her parents whenever she was teaching them how to video chat.
I like, there was a quote in chapter 54, The Valet, or Valet, if you watch Downton Abbey, about time. People want to imagine that time is consistent, steady, stable. They define the day, create tools to measure it, chop it into hours, minutes, seconds. They pretend each one is equal to the others, when in fact some are clearly prime cuts and others are full of gristle. Tress understood this now, as she'd known a hearty day thick with meat and fat, but the next few were lean and limber, passing quickly. While not the diaphane, days of a vacation, they were ephemeral nonetheless.
Yeah.
For all their increasing tension. Anyways, just I don't know. Time makes fools of us. Time is a fickle friend. Like, there's so many quotes about time because it's so weird, you know, and sometimes it drags. And there was another quote in here about time that I really liked that I don't think I highlighted, but it just, I don't know.
It's weird that we experience time differently.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird, I think, you know. I guess we experience temperature differently as well, so, like, why should it be weird? But it strikes me as weird because we understand it to be a constant now, you know. I wonder how, like, ancient people thought of it, because they certainly must have recognized that they experienced time faster and slower subjectively. But they would not have had this concept of, you know, time as a constant necessarily.
Yeah. There was something else about the time that I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember. Another quote that I really liked, or just a phrase that was used in the book, talking about her dealings with Crow or whatever. But you know, if something should have raised a red flag, if not at least a fuchsia streamer. I'll always think of that now. Like, when I see something, I'll be like, oh, that was a red flag. Maybe it was a fuchsia streamer, and I just wasn't paying attention.
Shelby asked if now that the sorceress is gone, will the Midnight Sea be safer? And the answer is probably yes, because the monsters were there by her own creation, you know.
Well, the monsters are just a product of those spores hitting water, right?
Not necessarily, because midnight spores have to be given form. And so that's true, right? Like, that if it rains out there, it will make something.
But nothing's controlling them.
But nothing's controlling it.
Like the vines.
Well, and it may not make anything. It may just make like a puddle. And
But
that may try then to attach to people.
the semi-sentience comes from the connection made with another person. So
Yeah, and not only that, but it's continued existence because she's leaching water to it.
So the answer is it might become more dangerous now because more people will be sailing
That's true,
the
too.
Midnight Sea.
Yeah.
And so everyone can have this power.
You know.
So it's opened it up.
Yeah.
For the world.
As far as being the most dangerous sea or whatever, it seems like the safest spores. like it really does to me. And I understand they can like dehydrate you to death or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Right, but
like,
at least you have
getting
some control.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Peggy asked if anyone noticed the quote about how arrogance and self-worth are two sides of the same coin, and I loved the next sentence that went with that. It'll spend either way. That was such a great quote. Yes, Peggy, I loved that one.
There's a and how do you tell the difference? Whenever it's in yourself, you probably think it's self-worth. When it's somebody else, you probably think
arrogance.
it's arrogance. Yeah.
Right.
So there's a quote from A Picture of Dorian Gray. Can this be a big gold star? Because we've never even done this, but so there's a quote from The Picture of Dorian Gray that says, "We call people selfish when they don't give us what we want."
Yeah.
And that quote has stuck with me. I probably read that when I was like 15 or something, and I have never forgotten it.
Yeah, that's good.
And I kind of got the same vibes from this quote here. So.
Yeah, Josh, I agree. This book was packed with gems, good little nuggets of quotes to hang on to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful. This was beautifully written. For it to be a fairy tale for a grown-up.
Yeah.
It's beautifully written.
I'm going to recommend it to everybody.
It was just good.
Yeah. My parents have read it, or at least my mom has read this now, and she started recommending it to people who don't read fantasy, but it's a good story. It has a good little message. If you're somebody, I would say if you're somebody who knows a young person and want to give them something fun, but also that has good positive messages that are worth learning, this is a good thing. And sometimes that's tough to find,
This would be a great one for high school, to teach.
Yeah.
Because you can find some really cool, Call to Adventure, and, you could do the hero's journey. It'd be a fun one.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so another good part that I liked. So once Tress is a lot of troubles have ended for Tress. She is trying to figure out how to tackle the Midnight Sea. She's in Crow's old room, and she's like, "What's wrong with my brain? I used to be so creative and such a problem solver, and what's happened to my ingenuity? What's happened to my thoughtfulness?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with me? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong with you. You're very tired."
Yeah.
That is a good lesson to learn. Oh, and then there's it goes on to say people are as fluid as time is. We adapt to our situation like water in a strangely shaped jug, though it might take us a little while to ooze into all the little nooks. Because we adapt, we sometimes don't recognize how twisted, uncomfortable, or downright wrong the container is that we've been told to inhabit. Mm-hmm. We can keep going that way for a while. We can pretend that we fit that jug, awkward nooks and all. But the longer we do, the worse it gets. The more it wears on us. The more exhausted we become. Even if we're doing nothing at all, because simply holding the shape can take all the effort in the world. More if we want to make it look natural.
Yeah. I really liked that part because I teach a lesson in prison where I talk about people as cups. And it's not about, and that lesson is more about coping with things and dealing with things as they come. And the idea is that everything that happens is water in the cup, and at some point you'll overflow. And so you need to decide, there's some water that is just permanently there. Maybe you're depressed, maybe you're anxious, maybe you are whatever, right? You live in a bad neighborhood, I don't know. But that's just water that's always there. And so the water that you can cope with, the water that you can pour out, you need to pour out. Even if you think I'm nowhere close to overflowing or whatever. But I think that lesson can be turned around into this about being tired and holding that form and having to be this thing. And the whole concept of people as cups, I just, or as a vessel, right, of something.
Yeah. And this also it connects towards the ending where Tress has rescued the fake Charlie. And she's not quite happy because who the goal that she had, the journey that it took for her to get to that goal changed her so much that that goal wasn't necessarily what she wanted anymore.
Yeah.
She has changed shape.
Yes.
And she needs time to catch up to who she is now and
Mhm.
figure that out. That's so important. I mean, and that's natural, right?
Mhm.
Like when you have a goal that you're working towards, of course you're going to change as you're working towards that goal. If you don't change, then your goal wasn't hard enough, probably.
Yeah.
Once you get there, it's time to enjoy that you got there
Yeah.
and then reassess, you know?
Well, I would say that if you don't change, you won't ever reach your goal because the person that you were wasn't
Can't
at the goal.
reach that goal, right?
That's kind of the point.
Yeah. And so, and it is normal for, you know, you're not just going to hit your goal and just be like, dude, I feel great.
Yeah.
You might be tired and you might need to readjust a lot of other things in your life to fit who you've become.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Well, I feel like we talked about this probably in Mountain and the Sea, but you know, we have this thing in Western culture where we view people as a static thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in Eastern cultures, they tend to think of people as a process. And I think that is probably the healthier and better way to think of it, you know. You are a thing that is becoming. You are a thing that is in flux, you know. So, what you got? What do you got?
We've got some good chat.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Okay. Shelby has an idea for books we never read socks that are only to be worn with sandals. Yes.
And she has an idea for books we never read sequined underwear.
Oh, that was so
That
funny.
was
He's like,
funny.
I stand by my purchase.
Yeah. And Shelby says that she is interested in another book from the Cosmere, and I want to say that Nicole and I have been talking about that, and we are too. And either what we would do is pick another one of these one-offs and leave the series themselves to people to read on their own, or maybe we pick a series and then just read a book, wait a couple months, read the next book, and it would drag out a while, but
if you have thoughts on that, please share them, because I'm good either way.
Yeah,
I do want to keep.
We're definitely going to do this.
Yeah,
something.
This was just way too good.
Yeah.
Sue J says, this changed my mind about fantasy. It was good and so descriptive, and I liked all the applications and quotes. Aww. And Peggy says, I felt like this was fantasy, but not. Hoy, the narrators, the reflective pieces for Tress made it so relatable.
Yeah.
If I'd have read the part by the author, I would have been hesitant when he mentioned wanting to mimic a fairy tale. Glad he told us to wait. Yeah.
So I'm watching, or I'm like semi-watching Damsel on Netflix right now, and I'm not. It might not be good. It's there, and I'm watching it, but it has a similar sort of premise where it is a fairy tale flipped on its head. The damsel is going to be the hero, and she's going to fight the dragon, and yada yada whatever. And it's a different medium, and it's a different purpose, I guess. But for some, I feel that they are related, but that this is so much better. Just so much
This
better.
just did it in all the right ways.
In all the right ways, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, there's just a lot of good chat.
Josh asked a question. He says, "Should you pick your goals for the goal or for the journey required to reach them?" And that is a good question. And there is no answer. There is no answer. You know, sometimes picking a goal just for the journey, you know, kind of is the point. You know, and mostly I think about physical goals in this way. But you know, so Nicole and I are working on a very large physical goal, but like the goal isn't the point. It's the journey and the change that we will take on the way there.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's like why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm running. It's terrible.
It's okay.
It's the worst.
It's okay.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, you know, and that is an interesting point. You know, we work on trying to improve ourselves all the time, and then someone's like, "You've changed."
Yeah.
You know, and that's so,
Did you not?
so hurtful. You know, when someone is like, "Oh, doing that changes you." I mean, that's the point.
I think about this like with politics. People say like, "Oh, you're a flip flopper."
Wouldn't we hate it if
I really like
people
it.
never reassessed
Yeah.
their ideas.
Well, and that's what Brandon Sanderson says makes Tress a hero, right? She sat down for a second and reevaluated. And I'm not saying I want you to like change every day based on like what like weird petty goal you can achieve by changing your stance on something, because we see a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to change, and it's okay to say, you know what, I was wrong, and I now support this, or I am this, or whatever. Um,
And it's a powerful thing to be able to look back and say,
yeah.
I was wrong.
Oh yeah.
Like, I misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's hard to do. Human beings are like the shorelines of continents. That we've talked about it already, but that was just all of these little nuggets are just so beautiful. Love it. More time quotes. So she waited. There are few things worse than stressful yet empty time. Free time that you can't use in any way always feels like nature itself is mocking you. It's a good one. Video conferencing engaged. Just a standalone highlight.
Talking about free time or whatever, I think we're at a point in the world where if we don't have something going on, we get anxious.
Yeah.
Like we can't. I think it's hard for us to be still.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just part of like the human condition. And again, maybe it's a survival mechanism. I don't know, but like if you have 5 minutes, you pull out your phone and you just like trash scroll or whatever. Like we do dumb stuff like that. And there are people that I know that I think are uncomfortable being themselves, and like their identity is tied into somebody else. And so like they'll have boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and then they'll break up and they'll immediately get another one because they can't be alone. And I think that's sad, but then like, can I not be alone? Right? Mm-hmm. Do I need to go find the voices of the internet and I can't take that mocking of nature where it's just like, sit down, be there for a second and be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I need to ice my shoulder for 15 minutes twice a day. And so the first time I did it, I was like, this might be good for me. Just set my timer for 15 minutes and just stare at the ceiling, right? Just be quiet and listen to my thoughts. And then I was like, maybe I can read while I do this.
Yeah.
And now I do about half and half.
So Nicole and I have talked about this a lot, and I don't know that I've ever shared this, and this is not about the book, so I'm sorry, you're going to have to listen to this for 3 minutes or something, but I can't meditate. Like, I'm not good at it because I can't be still, right? I can't be alone in there without my brain just going somewhere. But I've learned how to over like the last year. And the way that I do it is I imagine that I'm reading. And I focus on my breathing in the way that I would focus on a book on like a busy bus is the way that I think about it. And that works for me. And I have finally like learned how to, I don't know what that is, but I'm just throwing that out there as kind of something interesting. If you're somebody who struggles with that, think about the way that you focus on reading in a busy place. Focus on your breath in that way. It'll work. It's crazy. Maybe. Give it a shot.
Shelly says if I try to meditate, I fall asleep.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too. Any other things about the book?
I mean, I thought it was cool at the end. They got rid of the Crow's song. They got the 2 cups.
Yeah.
Fresh start. Let's get a new boat.
Yeah.
We're our new crew. We're our new selves.
Yeah.
And Soleil's dad is helmsman or whatever, and the Anne has glasses and can see what she's shooting at now.
Yeah, that was funny. I made a joke about how she needed glasses.
And you were right, gold star. I mean, this book did not take itself very seriously, but it wasn't distracting that it didn't take itself seriously. Yeah. And everything tied itself up into pretty little bows, but it wasn't distracting that everything just tied itself up into nice, neat, pretty bows. It's the perfect book.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. Part of me worries if we can continue to read Sanderson, maybe this is the high point. Somebody asked, and I apologize, but I think somebody asked earlier, I feel like somebody asked if whenever we were talking about reading more, you know, this if I like this better than the other books that I've read, and I don't think so.
They're just different.
They're different, and I think I've liked everything he's written.
And from what I have listened to of his other books, I mean, the style is totally different. Except the description is really intense, just like here. Like, you can see it like a movie in your head.
Yeah.
There's no question about what he's describing.
Yeah.
He's very good at that.
Yeah.
And so I think, even though I think they might be a little more complex, there's more characters, there's more details of magic and or whatever the system is that's working is more complicated, so it's a little heavier. It's so descriptive that you are along for the ride.
I think one of the things that's good about Tress and about his other books is sort of discovery is what pushes it along, and not all stories are like that. It's almost like a mystery, right? Even though it's not. And so all of his books, you'll be like doing something for a while, and you'll be like doing politics, and then there's this discovery that pushes it into the next phase. And I think that's a good way to kind of think about it. So,
Let's see. Everyone has a meditation station instead of a thought mansion.
There you go.
Old star to Shelby.
And Josh points out that he wanted to keep this book just for him and his wife, and that he's glad he published it. And I am too. And that's fine. Maybe some of the best works are, you know, for yourself and then get shared ultimately.
Well, I mean, that's when you are such a creative person and you have this talent and this ability, but then that also becomes your livelihood. That puts a weird strain on it. That's your job now, and not just something that you're doing for fun or to process or to release. And so this was great for him to be able to write in a way that he didn't have to follow any rules from anyone else.
He even talked about how he was saving it on like a special Google Cloud so his staff couldn't see it. I really liked that. That was good.
Poor guy. Yeah, curiosity-powered narrative.
Part of me feels dumb saying that, like, oh, it's driven on by like discovery, because like maybe every book is, but I don't feel that way about it.
It's very effectively done this way.
Yeah, I mean, like,
It is.
I think about several other things we've read, and it's pushed on by. You know, like most books are progressed by conflict.
I was gonna say tension.
Yeah. And I don't think, even though there is definitely conflict in all of his books, I don't think it's the conflict that progresses it. It's
Advantasy.
Good
job, Shelby. Man, y'all are on it today.
This is good. Well,
what else do you have?
I don't know. I think that's probably about it. Oh, one thing I will mention is that if you're interested in reading more books, and I haven't read, I'm not sure that I've read any of the books that were related, but all of the technology that the sorceress has is from another book, or two. The golden men that she has guarding her island is from another book, and so she is somebody who has been to these different worlds and has collected magic and technology from those places and is using them to her benefit. And so you might so like at one point it talks about how she breathes life into the golden men, and it put breathe in a capital B. And there is a book out there where you will notice that the magic is done by breath, or is called breath. And so there's all these little hints in there that now that you've read this, you'll read these other books and be like, whoa, hang on, I think I saw that.
That would be fun. And with having so many of us reading it together, because I would not catch any of it at all. But you guys all will. And that would make it fun. It's like a treasure hunt. We could make like Sanderson bingo, right? Like
that would be fun. Yes, that would be.
That would be super cool. I want to email him and ask him if he could make some bingo like topics, you know, like
Mhm.
so Hoyd could be one, right?
Yeah.
Like when we think we see Hoyd in a book, that's a chip, you know.
Yeah.
But like, I wonder if he would respond. I wonder if he'd play along with
You
us.
can try. Tell him that he can come watch this video, and I mean, he got time to watch the video.
I mean, if
come
you're
talk.
already here, Mr. Sanderson, hi.
Please, bingo.
We love your novel. You can email us at booksweneverread. Something like that. I don't know. You can figure
I
it
think
out.
it's actually different. It doesn't
It is.
matter.
But you can.
Please don't email them. I don't know.
Oh.
Whoever owns that email, that's not us.
Ah, man. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get off because we've almost made it an hour. So thank you everybody for sticking with us.
Golly.
We are going to be putting out our syllabus today for the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store,
A novel.
which is a historical fiction murder mystery, apparently,
James McBride.
by James McBride. So check that out if you want to play along. We made a lot of new friends on this book. I don't know if you guys just want to read anything, but that's kind of our deal. We read anything.
We read all kinds of
And
stuff.
so
And we recommend reading all kinds of
we
stuff.
do recommend.
We've had so much fun reading outside of our normal comfort zone.
Who in their right mind talks about Picture of Dorian Gray when talking about fantasy novels? Anyway, on top of that, on the oh man, I'm drawing a blank. I think it's the 23rd of this month. I don't know. It's maybe this Thursday. The new Three Body show is coming out. Three Body is the book that got this entire show started for us. And so we are going to be putting out a short announcing a time for us to do a live chat about that show. And it will probably be at a weird time. It's not going to be Sunday at 10 because we have that time for this. And so I'm not sure that everybody could join us, but we want to let you guys know first that we will be doing that. And we want y'all to come and play along. And let's just talk about the show. And even if you've never read the book, we can talk about the show.
I do want to point out that we were supposed to talk about All the Light We Cannot See.
We never did.
The show, we never got past episode 1.
And I hear it gets better, but we'll figure it out.
And we only made it through a few, like half of the 10-cent Three Body.
Yeah. But it was good. It was just in Chinese, so it was hard.
It was hard. I can't crochet and watch that at the same time.
Yes.
So anyway.
Cool. Josh just finished Dark Forest, so.
Hey!
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have to remember that. Like when we discuss the movie, we can't really go into the other books. You know. It's like we can't do Death's End, which is my favorite. That's the only one I talk about half the time.
Shucks.
That's okay. Dark Forest was your favorite, so.
I might have to go back and like.
Well, I mean, we'll just talk about the show.
Recap.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We hope you guys have a great week. And go ahead and pick up your copy of The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store and check out what our reading will be for next Sunday. So thank you very much.
Happy reading.
Bye.